Hi guys, it's Laura at Sheer Passion. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, I wanted to let you know that the holidays are right around the corner and I want to wish you well, but I want to give you a little bit of guidance and a little bit of encouragement along the way. So let me share with you that everything that I share from my heart, I don't mean to be offensive. You want to connect to the words that I'm saying. You want to connect to the feeling that they're giving you, and then you want to allow your brain to work on finding truth. One of the things that I know that people deal with around the holidays is anxiety, anger, frustration. We're all pushed. We've all learned to do too much. We've also learned not to say no, to put boundaries on things. And we're all pushed to levels of frustration without being able to fix it in the moment. So let me encourage you to understand something based on my experience, how I see the world. When we get angry around the holidays, is it really applicable? I mean, we live in the United States of America. We all, for the most part, have things that can help us get through each day. We have more than most. So how is it that anger comes up? It's not really applicable, is it? I mean, anger in itself isn't usable just in that state. It needs to be dealt with in a healthy way so that we all understand that if we act out in anger, we're not allowing our brain to connect to what's really going on. When you get angry during the holidays because of family interaction, that anger is coming up based on boundaries that are made in your brain. People are hitting that boundary. Sometimes the boundary is something that you've put in place because of the way other people have treated you or how you felt when you get something from someone that makes you feel uncomfortable. So that boundary comes up. There can be boundaries with money, boundaries with games, boundaries with family time, boundaries with certain people, boundaries with driving, all these expectations. Let me share with you that anger is only revealing that the boundary that is there has not been dealt with in a healthy way. Because remember, to be proactive on a boundary, once it's created in your head based on being an adult, you'd have to share with other adults in the situation what your boundary is. So when you have chosen your boundary, you share your boundary and let them know if you choose to hit it or come up against it, that's your choice, but this is my boundary and this is where I will stay. You're very proud to share boundaries because boundaries that are shared give people the opportunity to understand you've been doing the work in your brain that requires you to be proactive. The holidays bring a lot of different people into circles very quickly for lots of short bursts of time, with expectations to have this overwhelming grateful gratitude and this ambiance that the movies or books give us that we don't actually get in our real family trees. There are some of us out there that get it, but for the most part, we're all dealing with the expectation of mediocrity. And then when we get there, it can be even less than that. And people are extra frustrated, extra pushed, unhealthy, have gained weight, are in more debt. Maybe there's divorces. And now that the kids are growing, the electronic devices have come in and stopped the fun communication. So instead of playing board games, we've got more electronics. And instead of listening to Christmas music that we sing along to, we have earbuds in. I understand that. We're all in the same boat, or are we? If I can give you anything, it is the power to work through frustration and anger to the other side. One of the things that will keep people from choosing to be extra loving this year is the expectation that it's going to be the same as last year. It'll only be the same if your communication is even less than last year's communication. When you want a hug, the fastest way to get a hug is not to expect someone to hug you. The fastest way to get a hug when you want a hug is to give a hug. So if you start thinking differently and you start getting in front of the issue, if you want to have a warm welcome when you come into a home, how about you give a warm welcome when you arrive? And very quickly, things will start to change. Are we going to be part of the process of changing the issues in our family trees, or are we going to continually assume that if we do nothing, nothing will change, and that if we do nothing, maybe it'll work itself out? That's stinking thinking, and I got to be really honest with you. It doesn't apply anywhere in America. It doesn't apply in business, and it sure as hell doesn't apply in family trees. We have all come from a family tree. every single person that we run into has come from a family beginning. The only way that we give and give and give with no expectation but for the other person to have is from a state of mind that says we know who Christ is. And the gift that I get inside of my body that you cannot see when I choose to give you a hug, give you a smile, and show up to the day which gives you my presence and laughter is that I will be blessed by the Holy Spirit. And you can't see that gift, but I will tell you it is a gift that continues to give. If the Christian families in this area, if the Catholic families in this area really genuinely wanted to see the change of Jesus in their family trees, you would see it in the interaction with the family when it's together. You would also see the interaction with the family throughout the year a little differently. Let me encourage you to step outside and hold yourself accountable. When you become angry, you have had boundaries hit inside of your brain that you've never dealt with or said out loud. I totally understand how that feels. You can let yourself off the hook by being human and also choose to be accountable and responsible to change how you interact. You are teaching your children what happens when adults just want to push things off to the side. That only causes future frustration. Because on some level of the brain, you think that if you don't get involved, that somehow the black abyss of things you can't currently control will somehow work themselves out over here. Based on what? The amount of money you have in your account, you thinking that you know Jesus. Jesus gave you a brain, which then would allow you to fix the issue at hand, not later. And also the same brain to choose to make more money and save it, which has nothing to do with buying your way out of issues or troubles that you yourself have also been a part of. This isn't a blame game of family trees. Please do not get caught up on how perfect your parents are on the other side of this electronic screen. If that's the case, then every person outside of the front door that you live in has all been raised by a bunch of jackals. We're people. We continually need to get up every day and believe the best in ourselves. I understand how difficult that can be. Even if our parents have done the greatest job raising us, we join a whole lot of people outside that door of parents that are not like ours, which would cause us to communicate. So boundaries that would be hit, the way that we feel, spiritual boundaries, financial boundaries, emotional boundaries, sexual boundaries, physical boundaries, when they're hit, the person can choose to communicate. This is how I'm feeling. Do you know how many times I've had a feeling and I acted on it in my teens or I acted on it in my young 20s, and now as my feelings arrive in my mid-30s, I'm able to sit, decipher truth, and choose my actions differently? I want to be the kind of woman that says, I will take into consideration how I feel. I will look for truth into why that feeling came up, and then I will choose my actions accordingly based on the woman that I want to be. If the woman that I want to be and the woman that I'm being are not the same, my actions actually have to be choosing the woman that I want to be, not the woman that I feel. Let me share with you, in situations with family, if somebody gets angry or frustrated, the anger and frustration is allowing everyone in the room to understand you've all hit a boundary. That boundary can be broken through, understood, and peace can enter in when you all choose to hear the words. Sit during the conversation. Don't leave the room. When you leave the room, you're telling yourself that you are not due hearing words and genuinely understanding them. It does not matter if people cuss. It does not matter if people get loud. What matters is if you believe that your ears hearing it are incapable of then filing it in your brain, you are genuinely trying to get to know the other family member. And the only time that we really give a damn about anybody loving us is when it's tough. Excuse my language, but that is the absolute truth of human flesh. We don't really care if you like the gentle ride of life when everything is gone hunky-dory. Don't the holidays just prove that even in America, when we should be more grateful, all it does is showcase the frustration, the anger, and the inadequacies of human behavior? We can change that one holiday at a time by understanding that we all have those issues throughout the year. The difference is saying when we hit a boundary, instead of leaving the kitchen, leaving the living room, or not showing up to the next event, you have got to get involved by asking more questions so all the people in the room can really connect to the words, in the moment, connect to the words. and then in the future change their actions to be the people that they want to be. One of the things that you will find hard is pushing through the anxiety that's actually located inside the body that nobody can see. That's where I'm here to encourage you. That's what the devil wants you to do. That's why it's so easy to give up. I want to encourage you that I have been there. I have used words incorrectly, and I will continue to use words incorrectly because I use so many words with so many people all day long. I'm bound to run into using them incorrectly. That is not what I want to do, but there are times where it happens. And I would ask you to understand that if I share with you as an extrovert, I process everything out loud. I share with you these words, I put them on the internet so that you can continually hear them and understand that you are to hold me accountable, which causes us to have a true, genuine relationship. As long as we learn that the best part about humanity is getting in the thick of things and working it through to see the relationship blossom on the other side. Some of the things that we do in our lives are so hysterically placed in front of us because God wanted us to see them. And one of the things that this is very much like is a seed. A seed can grow into a thriving tree that becomes so useful in so many different ways as a blessing in any community that it is planted in. But if you look at a seed and you think that you can throw that away and it will become nothing, you are not willing to go through the thick of things. You're willing to go on the feeling that you have, but that feeling really isn't applicable. The actions to water the seed anyway and to know that it is going to grow up and to be a big tree doesn't give you this great picture that there aren't going to be storms and there isn't going to be extremely rainy days or there will be droughts and too much sun. Maybe lightning hitting the tree. But the reality is, when we plant that seed, we know what's going to be because we're trusting the process and we understand that our feelings aren't first. That should be your encouragement this year. You matter like we all do. When you come up against frustration, give yourself a gift this year. Work through it and choose to explain to people how you feel. You might be very genuinely surprised that people want to know, and most people want to work it out. Build your families this year. I know what it's like to have a family that is no longer talking and working things out. And as frustrating as that may have been for me, you realize very quickly that relationships are not to be taken for granted, but they're also work. When you choose not to work on them, that's because you've chosen to stop working on yourself. Thank you so much. I will check in later. Read the blog, Sheer Passion to Blog at blogspot.com. Have a Merry Christmas. Right now we're coming up on Thanksgiving, so let's not jump over that. I'm sorry. It's something to say. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much.